Okay, we are back for Acts 8:37. Mr. Milton, and Philip said, If thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. This verse is very important because it places a definite condition upon water baptism. One must first believe on Christ. Many modern versions throw the entire verse out of the Bible. The top 5 translations again. The King James and the New King James have it. The other three put it in the put a note in the footnote, whatever. But here's the information about it. Okay. Well, let me share with you what Bruce Metzger said about it first of all, and then I'll share this other source. 8:37. Verse 37 is a Western edition, not found in P45, P74, Sinaiticus, A, B, C, 33, 81, 614, the Vulgate, Syriac P, Syriac H, Coptic, Sahidic, Coptic Bohairic, but is read with many minor variations by E, many minuscules, Old Latin GIG 51 and Old Latin H 55, manuscripts of an early version or a church father's text when different from the edited text. Anyway, there's a few other ones here. Of course, it didn't tell me plainly what they are. I have to put my mouse over them to see what the little abbreviations are. But anyway, he goes on to say, there is no reason why scribes should have omitted the material if it had originally stood in the text. It should be noted, too, that, and he has a Greek phrase here, and for some reason my program's not working too good tonight for me to be able to see even what the phrase says, because it's in Greek, and I don't know Greek. Anyway, it has a Greek phrase that says, is not a Lucan expression. So in other words, it's a phrase that Luke does not use anywhere else in his material. And then he says the formula, again a Greek word, was doubtless used by the early church in baptismal ceremonies and may have been written in the margin of a copy of Acts. Its insertion into the text seems to have been due to the feeling that Philip would not have baptized the Ethiopian without securing a confession of faith, which needed to be expressed in the narrative. Although the earliest known New Testament manuscript that contains the words dates from the 6th century, that's manuscript E, the tradition of the Ethiopian's confession of faith in Christ was current as early as the latter part of the 2nd century. For Irenaeus quotes part of it in his Against Heresies 3, and I guess the page is 7.8. I guess chapter 7 verse 8 or something like that. Anyway, although the passage does not appear in the late medieval manuscript on which Erasmus chiefly depended for his edition, manuscript 2, which is a Byzantine manuscript, it stands in the margin of another, manuscript 4, from which he inserted it into his text because he, quote, judged that it had been omitted by the carelessness of scribes, end quote. So, I mean, you heard what I just said. Alright, the other source I want to read, which, get ready to put up your crossed fingers and splash holy water at the screen or whatever. James White's book. This is what he had to say about this text. Which, I mean, he was kind of trained in this, and he has the same resource and stuff. Anyway, it says, Acts 8 and 9 also are expanded in the Textus Receptus due to material brought over from the Vulgate. For example, if you look up 8:37, and Philip said, If thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. In the NIV, you will not find it, outside of textual footnote. The verse is found in very few Greek manuscripts, none earlier than the 6th century, and Erasmus inserted it due to its presence in the Vulgate and in the margin of one Greek manuscript. This passage is surely orthodox and in fact is often laden with emotional attachments as well, which makes it easy to preach against its quote-unquote deletion by modern text. But of course, we must overcome our emotionalism to ask the central question: what did Luke write at this point? While the insertion certainly speaks the truth, so would inserting the Westminster Confession of Faith between Titus 2 and 3. But no one is going to suggest doing that. We cannot improve upon what God has revealed. And he has a footnote. Says, some have suggested that this passage is original, but was deleted due to later ecclesiastical practices regarding baptism. Hills, page 201. However, its presence in the Latin Vulgate, which certainly shows as much, if not more, evidence of ecclesiastical concern, makes this argument somewhat tenuous. He also talks about, just as Erasmus was accused of deleting a verse from the Bible when he did not include the 1 John 5:4 passage, so too modern versions are accused of deleting a number of verses from their text. If one does not include blocks of text such as the longer ending of Mark, there are 16 single verses either marked by brackets or completely removed from the text of modern versions like the NIV. In 3 of these instances, Luke 17:36, Acts 8:37, and Acts 15:34, the verse itself is attested by a minority of Greek manuscripts. That is, the majority text does not include that verse. The other verses are found in the majority of Greek manuscripts, yet are not found in the text of modern critical editions of the Greek New Testament. Of course, they are noted in the textual apparatus, so they have not been deleted or removed without notification. But the issue is, why would anyone not include these passages when they are in the majority of the Greek manuscripts? So, here's one passage, this Acts 8:37, that is not even found in the most of the Antiochian manuscripts. So, you know, on one hand, you're going to argue that the Antioch is the pure line of text Bible-believing Christians translated. But then when some of its own manuscripts in that family and in that tradition doesn't have this verse, you know, all of a sudden you want to scream bloody murder at the new versions for leaving it out. You be the judge. There's the evidence laid out. Kind of speaks for itself, I guess. The next passage is going to be 2 Corinthians 2:17. See you on the next one.